Cristoforo, therefore, seemed the right man to go to Don Rodrigo and persuade him to leave Lucia alone. And so he went. But Don Rodrigo welcomed him with false courtesy at the table where he was dining with other nobles as well as, wouldn't you know it, the pettifogger and the podesta. The man who should have put him in prison had the pettifogger done his duty. Then he treated the monk like a beggar and told him he didn't need a priest to preach morality to him. At this point, Cristoforo, with the look of someone who could still fight a duel, albeit without a sword, raised his right hand in a threatening gesture and placed his left on his hip and shouted, "I'm not afraid of you and your ilk any more!" with insulting familiarity, as though Don Rodrigo were a craven mechanic himself. "Lucia will remain under the Lord's protection, but the same Lord's curse will fall upon this house." Rodrigo chased him away, hurling abuse at him. But since he had a dirty conscience, this business of God's curse would remain on his mind forever after. And we shall see later that he would not lack the opportunity to remember it. But while Padre Cristoforo's courage made up for the cowardice of Don Abbondio, he came away empty-handed. If the two young people were already married, they could flee together and go somewhere else. In fact, just a stone's throw away, at Bergamo, the Duchy of Milan ended and the Republic of Venice began. But in those days, a boy and a girl who were not married could not run away together, because it would, at the very least, damage the girl's reputation for the rest of her life. To say nothing of a girl like Lucia, whom Signor Alessandro portrays as straight-laced, all hearth and home, incapable of even looking at her fiancé without blushing, since she realizes she's in love with him but mustn't let it show because he's not yet her husband. Let's just say that it was a time when respectable girls didn't make a show of themselves in public in the company of boys, which should give you an idea of how times have changed. Anyway, as Padre Cristoforo was looking for a way to help the two youngsters, both Renzo and Lucia, as well as Don Rodrigo, complicated matters for him. How? On the one hand, Don Rodrigo summoned his top bravo, Griso, whose name alone inspired fear, and told him to round up a few henchmen and go that same night and kidnap Lucia from her home. Renzo and Lucia, on the other hand, accepted the advice of Agnese, who had once heard it said that while the minister of Holy Communion was the priest, and the minister of confirmation was the bishop, the ministers of matrimony are the spouses themselves. That is, the priest declares them man and wife, but only after they have confirmed that this is their wish. So Agnese suggested to them that they find a way to steal into Don Abbondio's room, appear suddenly in front of the priest, and declare that they want each other as husband and wife. At that point, with the priest as witness to their wishes, they would be good and married. It turned out to be a rather muddled night. The betrothed stole into Don Abbondio's study and tried to say the famous words that would make them husband and wife. But Don Abbondio realized in time, and upset his lamp and table, ran to the window and cried for help. The sacristan heard him and went and started ringing the tocsin. The entire village emptied out into the streets to see what was happening. Meanwhile, the bravos entered Lucia's house but obviously found nobody there, and upon hearing the bells they thought that the alarm had been sounded and took to their heels in a confused retreat. Once the danger of that somewhat sneaky marriage had been averted, Don Abbondio tried to tell the villagers that there was nothing to be worried about, only a few vagabonds